Hi, I'm Joe Ellison, and I'm back to introduce you to my latest novel, Mr. Lake. Mr. Lake is not available in paperback yet, but it is available as an Amazon ebook, and the paperback will be out shortly. So, what is Mr. Lake? Mr. Lake is a tale that mixes Arthurian legend, that is, King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table, with a nostalgic backward look at childhood in the 1960s. It's had a long gestation period, maybe as long as 20 years. I can't quite remember. It's sometimes hard for an author to remember when he first started thinking of a particular story. The longer he thinks about it, the more the story changes. And other things are changing at the same time. The world is changing. The author himself is changing. I had written notes or fragments of Mr. Lake some time ago, but it was only after I started writing the novel in earnest earlier this year that I realized how much the world has changed, and the extent to which the world in which Mr. Lake is set has become foreign territory. I had originally intended to write a story about how fantasy and reality mix in the mind of a child, but the more I wrote, the more the real world in which my young protagonists live, a world I myself lived in, came to sound like a fantasy land. It's an effort to reconcile yourself to the fact that the way people talk or act or think, or the very things they think about in the now, have come to bear scant resemblance to the ways and things that existed during your childhood in the past. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised by this. The world is different because the people who make it up are different. At my age, a significant number of the capable adult people you remember are dead, and a large proportion of the adults living around you, even those adults who have succeeded in life beyond your dreams and show every outward sign of competence, you recall only as infants who crap in their diapers or as snotty-nosed kids. I am reminded of a college classmate who's become a surgeon of great repute, my memory of whom will forever be fixed on the fact that he could never spread cheese on a Triscuit without breaking the cracker. Oh. The world of Mr. Lake is a world in which dogs go unleashed, in which elementary school kids roam their neighborhoods and towns unsupervised, in which, paradoxically, they are at one and the same time more streetwise and more innocent than kids today. It's a world in which these kids interact with adults routinely, if reluctantly, in which sex hardly enters the picture, except in what was then the most obvious sense, as a differentiating quality, in which no one tiptoed about other people's feelings, and in which, consequently, you were expected to be thick-skinned. If someone insulted you, you insulted him back. If it rose to the level of fighting words, you busted him in the chops, though you had room to maneuver a bit before you got to that point. Finally, if somebody bullied you, you never squealed. You either stood up for yourself or you got the hell out of there. You will notice that I have written the dialogue in Mr. Lake in a somewhat archaic idiom, and I make no effort to explain the references. Often in writing dialogue, I do incorporate older turns of phrase, not because they accurately depict how people currently speak, but because I think the phrases deserve to survive. I think that they are more colorful and provide more texture than contemporary spoken English, which, let us face it, has been flattened by political correctness. But my intention in Mr. Lake has an additional dimension. It is more accurate to use these archaic phrases in Mr. Lake because that is how we spoke at the time. I despise what I call retrojecting, that is, projecting into the past current language and concerns so that contemporary readers will feel comfortable. I want you to feel uncomfortable. I want you to feel that you have stepped into another world. I want you to feel that this other world is disconcerting and strange. I want you to make the effort to understand it and to appreciate it on its own terms. It's the only way to make you free. To paraphrase G.K. Chesterton, only the past frees us from the tyranny of the present. I know. I may as well be talking about Middle-earth. My remembered friends may as well be named Aragorn and Legolas, Gimli and Frodo. Perhaps all memories doomed to merge into fantasy. Well, if you're watching this video on its YouTube page, then please go to the description below, click on the links, look them over. And if you'd like to hear me read excerpts from my other works, something that I will get back to with Mr. Lake in the next video, then you can click on one of the boxes to either side of my head. So thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you again real soon.